I love sourdough bread, so let's mix them together. I begin by adding plain white flour into a large bowl, followed by some sort of whole wheat flour. This is red wheat, or I use spelt. I then add my nice bubbly starter. I know I should autolyse, which is just adding the water to the flour first, but I struggle to mix it all in together, so I do it this way. I then add my water, followed by my salt. And now we're gonna give it a really good mix up. It's a little bit messy in this part, so I try to just use one hand and then just get one hand covered in dough. I put my fingers in and just start working the dough, mixing the water and the flour and the salt and the starter so it's all evenly combined. And the flour has taken in a lot of the water, there's no dry flour sat. I then cover it with a towel, and now we're gonna leave it before we begin our stretch and folds. After around 20 minutes, I'll do my first stretch and fold. I then follow it by doing 2 more stretch and folds at 15 minutes, and then I change out to 30 minutes. My recipe that I use is based off the one from Farmhouse on Boone by Lisa. That is a great recipe and one I would definitely say. Check out her blog. She has so many sourdough recipes that are amazing. And this is where I started my journey of sourdough with her. Once I've done my stretch and folds, I cover it with a towel and put the timer on. Once I've done all my stretch and folds, I tend to decant my dough into a plastic container. I find I can see how much my dough rises a lot easier this way. Once it is risen, I then tip it out onto a surface. I don't pull the dough out, I just let it fall out naturally, which I find works really well. I then will just scrape my dough and put them into 2 rough balls, and we're going to leave that now just to firm up the outside skin for around 20 minutes to half an hour. Now I'm going to shape my dough. I do this by folding in the 2 sides and then pulling the ball towards myself in this motion that you can see here. I love doing this part. You can see the tension on the surface of the dough start to tighten when you do. It takes a little bit of practice, but it works really well. I then put my dough balls into my bannetins. I line them with tea towels. I don't flour my tea towels. I found that my tea towels ended up getting really dirty that way and they wouldn't wash very well. And the dough doesn't stick to these cotton tea towels anyway. I then will put some sort of plastic bag. Here I actually use some shower caps on mine and they work perfectly. I put them in the fridge and leave them overnight to do their slow rise. The next day I will take them out, or I'll just take one out and then do the other one in a couple more days. I take it out, I turn it on to a piece of parchment paper, dust my dough with a little bit of flour. This just helps my cut stand out a little bit more. I then take a razor blade. I don't have a fancy razor blade. Again, this is just one for a cutthroat razor. I then slice and score in a half moon shape. I put it into a Dutch oven that has been heating in the oven and bake for around 30 minutes at 500 and then reduce the temperature to 475, remove the lid from my Dutch oven and then bake for a further 18 to 20 minutes. This is the finished result of that dough. I leave my bread to cool, not always, but you're supposed to. I then slice into it, and I always take that heel, spread it with lots of butter, and enjoy. Such a fantastic recipe. I highly recommend going and checking out Lisa and Farmhouse on Boone's blog.